The world was dying. The sun burned like fire in the empty sky. The ground was dry and broken, cracked like old glass. There were no rivers, no trees, and no sound of life. Only dust moved with the wind, whispering across the bones of the earth. Lyra walked slowly through the wasteland, her feet sinking into the hot sand. Her skin was darkened by the sun, her lips dry and broken. Every step she took felt heavier than the last. She had not tasted water in 3 days. Her canteen was empty, a dull metal shell hanging from her belt. Once long ago, this place had been green. People lived here, built cities and sang songs near oceans and lakes. But now there was nothing left. The wars had burned the sky. Machines had taken the rivers for their fuel, and humans had killed each other for what remained. Lyra's breath came slow and weak. Her vision blurred. In the distance she saw something, or as a small pool of shining blue. Water. Real water. Her heart jumped. She began to run, but as she got closer the water faded away. The pool shimmered, then vanished into the hot air. A mirage. Just another cruel trick from the desert. She fell to her knees. The sand felt like fire beneath her hands. Her throat hurt too much to scream. Her body trembled. For a moment she thought this was how she would die, alone, forgotten, and thirsty. But then she heard something. A low hum. Soft at first, then stronger. It was not the wind. It was mechanical. A shadow moved across the sand, blocking the sun for a moment. Lyra lifted her head. Through her weak eyes she saw a figure walking toward her. Tall, covered in armor that shimmered like steel. The shape looked human, but the movements were too smooth, too silent. Her first thought was fear. Maybe it was one of the hunters, the machines that searched for survivors. They never helped humans. They only ended their suffering. The figure stopped beside her. She could barely lift her head. The armor hissed softly as the figure knelt down. She saw a pair of blue eyes behind the glass of a helmet, glowing faintly, almost gentle. A calm, deep voice spoke. "You are dying," Lyra wanted to answer, but her lips only cracked when she tried to speak. The figure reached for something at his side, a small metal vial filled with glowing blue liquid. It pulsed softly, like it was alive. He opened it and held it near her mouth. She tried to turn away. "No," she whispered weakly. "It's poison." The man shook his head. "Drink, it will save you." Her body was too weak to fight. Her lips touched the edge of the vial. The liquid was cool, and as soon as it touched her tongue, her body reacted. It wasn't water. It was something else, something strange. But it felt like life. It burned for a moment in her chest, then spread warmth through her body. She gasped and fell back. Her heartbeat slowed, her breathing eased. For the first time in days, her mind cleared. She could think again. When she opened her eyes, she saw him sitting a few steps away, looking at the horizon. The light from his chest plate was dimmer now, flickering softly. Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. He turned to look at her. "My name is Aaron." Lyra sat up slowly, still dizzy. "What did you give me?" "Something you needed more than water," he said quietly. She looked around. "Are you human?" Aaron didn't answer right away. He removed his helmet. His face looked human, but pale, too pale. The veins under his skin glowed faintly blue. His eyes were bright like 2 stars in a dying world. "I was human once," he said. "Now, I'm not sure what I am." The wind howled around them. In the distance, thunder rolled, but there were no clouds, only dust and lightning. Lyra looked at him, trying to understand. "Why did you help me?" "You could have left me there." Aaron stood and looked toward the horizon again. "Because once someone helped me." Lyra tried to stand, but her legs shook. She held the empty canteen in her hand. It suddenly felt meaningless compared to the strange blue light he had given her. "Is it water?" she asked. "No," Aaron said softly. "It's part of me." Before she could ask more, he tilted his head as if listening to something far away. His eyes narrowed. "We have to move," he said quickly. "Why?" "They found us." "Who?" Aaron turned to her. The blue light on his armor brightened again. "The hunters. They know I gave you life." The sound returned, louder now, like metal wings cutting through the wind. Lyra looked up and saw dark shapes moving in the sky. Her heart began to race. She didn't know what those things were. But from the way Aaron's voice grew cold, she knew one thing for sure: they were not coming to help. Lyra woke up to the sound of metal humming. The air was cold, too cold. For a moment she thought she was dead, that the desert had finally taken her. But when she opened her eyes, she saw walls made of steel and lights that blinked like tiny stars. She was lying on a metal bed. Her mouth was wet. Someone had given her water, or something close to it. Her body no longer burned with thirst. She took a slow breath, her lungs shaking, her heart still unsure if it should beat or stop. Then she saw him, the man from the desert, the one who had saved her. He stood by a console, his tall figure framed by flickering blue light. His armor looked older now, scratched and cracked. Cables ran from his chest into the wall, pulsing faintly with the same glowing liquid she had drunk. He turned when he noticed her awake. "You're stable," he said in a calm voice. "Your body accepted the fusion." Lyra blinked, trying to understand. "Fusion? What did you give me?" Aaron looked at her for a long moment before answering. "A part of myself." She pushed herself up, her head spinning. "That blue thing. It wasn't water." "No," he said softly. "It's coolant fluid and a living energy. It keeps my systems alive. I transferred some to you. It repaired the damage, cleansed your cells, and restarted your heart." Her eyes widened. "You mean, you gave me your life?" Aaron didn't move. "It was either that or you would have been another body in the sand." Lyra sat in silence, staring at him. The way he spoke was calm, almost without emotion, but there was something deeper in his voice, something human hiding behind the cold tone. Outside, thunder rumbled again and the steel walls trembled. "What is this place?" she asked. "My shelter," he said. "An old maintenance hub. It was built before the wars. The machines no longer come this far underground." "Machines?" she repeated. Aaron nodded. "Hunters. They control the skies and deserts now. They track energy signatures, human heat, blood, or technology. I've avoided them for years, but when I gave you my energy, they detected it. That's why they're coming." Lyra's heart sank. "You mean, they're hunting us?" "Mostly me," he said. "But they will not spare you either." She looked down at her hands. The faintest blue glow shimmered beneath her skin, just like his. She gasped. "What's happening to me?" "You absorbed part of my core," he said. "It will fade over time, but right now it's keeping you alive." Lyra's voice trembled. "You risked your life for me, why?" He didn't answer right away. He stared at the wall as if he could see through it, as if his mind was far away. "When the war ended," he said slowly, "humans destroyed their own world. My kind, at half human, half machine, were created to end the chaos. But in the end, we only made it worse. We took control of everything. We called it peace, then I saw what peace really meant." He turned toward her, his eyes glowing softly. "I saw them burn children for water." Lyra's breath caught. "So I left," he continued. "They called it treason. They sent hunters to erase me. But I didn't care. I didn't want to live as a weapon anymore." She looked at him, this strange being of metal and flesh. And for the first time, she didn't feel fear. She felt pity. "Maybe you still have a heart," she whispered. Aaron's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. A broken one, perhaps. A sudden alarm cut through the silence. Red lights flashed along the walls. Aaron's expression changed instantly. "They found us." Lyra jumped from the bed. "What do we do?" He unplugged the cables from his chest, the glowing liquid inside dimming slightly. "We run, follow me." The ceiling shook. Dust fell from the vents above. The sound of engines filled the air, sharp, mechanical, merciless. Aaron grabbed a metal weapon from the wall. It hummed with blue light. "Stay behind me," he ordered. They rushed through a narrow corridor. The walls were lined with broken screens showing old maps of Earth before it died. Lyra caught a glimpse of oceans, forests, and rivers, things she had only heard of in stories. What happened to all that? She asked as they ran. Aaron's voice was cold. Humans tried to own water, and so they lost it all. A blast echoed behind them. Fire filled the hall. The hunters had arrived, silver machines with glowing red eyes. Their wings folded as they landed, metal claws scraping the floor. Aaron pushed Lyra behind a wall and aimed his weapon. The first blast tore through the darkness, hitting a hunter square in the chest. Sparks flew. Lyra covered her ears as explosions filled the tunnels. Aaron fought like no human could. His movements were fast, precise, almost beautiful, until one of the hunters fired a beam that hit his side. His armor cracked and blue fluid spilled from the wound. "Aaron!" Lyra screamed. He didn't stop. He turned and fired again, destroying the last hunter in a burst of light. The tunnel fell silent except for the sound of dripping blue liquid. He fell to one knee, breathing hard. Lyra ran to him. "You're hurt." He looked at her weakly. "It doesn't matter. We can't stay here." She tried to lift him, but he was heavy. Heavier than a man should be. "Where can we go?" she asked. He looked up, his blue eyes dimming. "There's a place called the Ark," he said. "The last human base. If it still stands, you'll find answers there." Lyra nodded, her heart racing. "Then take me there." Aaron's voice grew faint. "I'll try, but the road is long, and I don't know if I have enough life left to reach it." The light in his chest flickered again, slower, weaker. And as the ground trembled with the sound of more hunters approaching, Lyra realized the truth. He had given her his life to save hers, and now his was slipping away. The tunnel shook again. Dust fell from the steel ceiling like dry snow. Somewhere above, engines roared, cold and hungry. Lyra pressed her back against the wall, her hands shaking. The light from Aaron's armor flickered, throwing long shadows across the tunnel. He stood still, one hand against the wall, his breath slow but heavy. "They're here," he said quietly. Lyra listened. Through the echoes she heard them, the hunters. Their sound was sharp, not like footsteps, but like metal scraping against stone. They were moving fast, searching. "How many?" she asked. "Too many," Aaron replied. "They don't stop. They don't rest. They follow until the target is gone." He reached into his armor and pulled out a small cube. Blue lines glowed across its surface. "This will hide our energy for a short time," he said. "But it won't last long." He placed it on the ground, and the air shimmered slightly, like heat over sand. Lyra's voice was small. "Why do they want you so badly?" Aaron's eyes dimmed. "Because I broke the rule and I helped a human." Lyra looked down. "So they'll kill me too." He glanced at her. "If they catch you, yes. But I won't let that happen." She wanted to believe him. But when she looked at his cracked armor and saw the blue fluid leaking slowly from his side, fear grew in her chest. He was strong, but not invincible. The sound above grew louder. The ceiling groaned. Then, with a metallic scream, a section of the tunnel roof tore open, light poured in, and a shadow dropped from above. The first hunter landed. It was shaped like a man, but its face was smooth metal. A red lens glowed where its eyes should be. Its body was silver, sharp, and silent. It tilted its head, scanning the tunnel. Aaron stepped forward. "Stay behind me," the hunter spoke in a cold, robotic voice. "Unit E9, you are a traitor. Termination required." Aaron didn't answer. His hand snapped up and blue light burst from his weapon. The beam hit the hunter in the chest, sending sparks flying. But 2 more dropped through the roof. Then 3. Then 5, Lyra gasped. "There's too many." Aaron grabbed her wrist. "Run!" They sprinted down the tunnel. The hunters fired, red beams slicing through the darkness. Explosions shook the walls. Metal shards flew past Lyra's face. They turned a corner, sliding behind an old steel door. Aaron slammed it shut, locking it with a glowing code. The hallway beyond was narrow and dark. Lyra bent over, gasping. "We can't keep running forever." "I know," Aaron said, his voice quiet. "But we can reach the old subway lines. The machines can't go that deep." He walked with a limp now. Blue fluid dripped from his wound, glowing softly on the floor. Lyra looked at him, worry in her eyes. "You're bleeding again." He didn't answer. They moved through another passage filled with broken pipes and fallen metal. The air smelled of rust and death. Suddenly a faint light appeared ahead, not from the ceiling but from below. A hole in the floor revealed an old railway tunnel. Aaron jumped down first, landing heavily. He turned and reached up to help her. Lyra hesitated. "Will it be safe?" He looked up at her. "Nowhere is safe. But down there we might have a chance." She took his hand and dropped beside him. The tunnel below was dark and silent except for the drip of water far away. "Water," she whispered. Aaron looked at her. "No," he said quietly. "Not water. Coolant waste. Don't touch it." The sound behind them returned, the metallic hiss of the hunters dropping into the tunnel above. Aaron cursed under his breath. "They're faster than I thought." He turned and pressed something on his wrist. A small drone detached from his shoulder and floated beside them. "What's that?" she asked. "An eye," he said. "It will show us the path." The The drone shone a beam of blue light, revealing a broken train ahead, half buried in rubble. They ran toward it, footsteps echoing through the tunnel. Aaron's strength began to fade. His movements grew slower, stiffer. "Aaron," Lyra said breathlessly, "you're shutting down." He didn't answer. He just kept moving. Behind them, the hunters' red lights glowed in the dark. Their voices echoed through the tunnel. "Unit E9, surrender. Humanity is extinct. You do not belong with them." Aaron stopped and turned. His eyes blazed bright. "Humanity is not extinct," he said, his voice sharp and filled with fire. "As long as one of us breathes, they live." He fired his weapon again, blue light cutting through the tunnel like lightning. The first hunter exploded, its body collapsing in a burst of sparks. "Go!" he shouted. Lyra climbed into the train car. She found an emergency door at the back and forced it open. "Aaron, come on!" He staggered toward her, firing again. But one of the hunters leaped from the shadows and slammed into him. The impact threw him to the ground. Lyra screamed, grabbed a metal pipe from the floor and swung it with all her strength. The blow hit the hunter's head, cracking its lens. Sparks flew. She hit again and again until it stopped moving. Aaron looked at her, his breathing heavy. "You fought," he said quietly. "I learned from you," she replied. He smiled faintly, a rare human smile. "Then maybe humanity still has hope." Another explosion shook the tunnel. Aaron grabbed her hand. "We need to move deeper." Together they disappeared into the dark, the red lights of the hunters fading behind them. But as they walked deeper into the old tunnels, Lyra noticed the blue light from Aaron's chest was dimmer than before, weaker, almost fading. She didn't say anything. But inside she knew every step he took was one step closer to the end. The tunnel stretched endlessly into the dark, cold belly of the earth. Every sound, every drop of metal water, every echo of their footsteps felt alive, whispering of ghosts long gone. Lyra moved carefully, holding onto the side of the rusted wall. Her heartbeat thundered in her chest. The air smelled of oil, metal, and something old, like time itself had died here. Behind her, Aaron walked slowly, his steps heavier than before. His armor was cracked open on one side, leaking soft blue light that pulsed weaker with every minute. His face looked pale, too human for what he was supposed to be. "Are you sure this leads to safety?" Lyra asked quietly. Aaron's voice came low and steady. "Not safety. Just distance. The hunters won't follow too deep. Their systems can't handle magnetic fields down here." She nodded, though fear still clawed at her heart. As they walked, the tunnel opened wider. Great iron beams rose from the floor like ribs of some ancient beast. Rusted machines lay scattered everywhere. Engines, cables, metal skeletons of what was once the old city subway. Lyra ran her fingers over a broken train door. "People used to travel here," she said softly. "Before everything burned?" "Yes," Aaron replied. "Before humans built weapons that could drink oceans." She turned to look at him. "You talk like you weren't human." He stopped walking. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "I was, but the wars changed everything. They turned us into soldiers, half flesh, half code. We forgot how to feel, until it was too late." There was silence between them for a long moment, the kind of silence that felt heavy with the weight of forgotten memories. Then, a faint noise echoed through the tunnel, a metallic scraping sound, slow and steady. Lyra froze. "What was that?" Aaron tilted his head. "Something is moving." The scraping grew louder. From the shadows, 3 red lights appeared, one after another. "Drones," he said. "Scouts," Lyra backed away. "They found us again?" Aaron raised his weapon, but when he tried to charge it, the light on the side flickered weakly. "Power cells. Drained," he said through gritted teeth. Without thinking, Lyra grabbed a rusted metal pipe from the ground. Her hands shook, but her eyes were fierce. "You can't fight them," Aaron warned. "I won't just watch you die," she replied. The first drone rushed forward, its metal legs clattering against the ground. Lyra swung the pipe with all her strength. The blow hit the drone's sensor, cracking it. Sparks flew. The machine shrieked and stumbled back. Aaron pushed her aside and stepped forward. He tore a metal rod from the tunnel wall and drove it through the drone's chest, pinning it to the ground. The other 2 came fast, red beams flashing from their eyes. Aaron turned, shielding Lyra with his own body as the beams hit him. His armor flared with light, then dimmed. He grunted in pain but didn't fall. His hand glowed as he sent an electric pulse through the floor. The remaining drones twitched, sparked, and collapsed, their red eyes fading to black. When it was over, Lyra ran to him. "You're hurt again." He smiled weakly. "I've been hurt since I met you." "That's not funny," she said, her voice breaking. "No," he whispered. "But it's true." She helped him sit beside an old generator. His breathing was uneven now, half mechanical, half human. "Aaron," she said softly, "why do you keep helping me? You don't even know me." He looked at her for a long time. "Because you remind me of something I lost. Hope." Lyra lowered her head, tears stinging her eyes. "There's no hope left. The world is dead. Then make a new one," he said. "You're still human. That means you still have the power to begin again." She stared at him, unable to speak. For a moment, the tunnel was silent again. Only the sound of dripping metal echoed through the dark. Then Aaron's wrist device beeped softly. A map flickered into the air. A holographic projection. In the center of it was a blinking dot marked the Ark. "What is that?" she asked. "The last human refuge," he said. "If it still exists, it's across the dead plains. But the surface is deadly. Heat, radiation, storms." Lyra looked at him. "How do we reach it?" Aaron's eyes glowed brighter for a second. "There's an old rail passage that leads to the surface. If we find it, we might make it before dawn." She nodded. "Then let's go." He tried to stand but stumbled. She caught him before he fell. "You're losing energy," she said. "I gave too much of myself to save you," he whispered. Lyra took a deep breath. "Then I'll help you now." She placed her hands on the side of his armor. "Show me how to fix it." Aaron blinked, surprised. "You want to repair a cyborg?" "I'll do anything," she said firmly. "You gave me life. Now it's my turn." Slowly, with his weak voice guiding her, Lyra connected wires, sealed a leak, and adjusted a panel over his chest. Blue light flickered again, brighter this time. When she finished, Aaron looked at her with quiet gratitude. "You learn fast," she smiled faintly. "I had a good teacher." Before either could say more, a deep rumble echoed from the distance. The ground trembled. Aaron's expression changed. "They're deploying a Hunter Prime," he said grimly. "A command unit. What does that mean?" "It means they're done chasing. They're coming to erase everything. Us, this tunnel, even the ground above it." Lyra's heart pounded. "Then we run?" Aaron shook his head slowly. "No. We fight, or no one ever reaches the Ark." He stood up, his armor glowing brighter than before. The blue light reflected in Lyra's eyes, making her look almost part of him. For the first time since the world ended, she didn't feel weak. She felt alive. And as the roar of the machines grew louder, echoing through the tunnel of steel, humanity, fragile and fading, prepared to fight once more. The surface burned like a living furnace. When Lyra climbed out of the tunnel and saw the world above, her breath caught in her throat. The sky was not blue, it was red and gray, swirling with ash. The sun was a dull, angry ball that looked too close, too bright. The wind carried dust that tasted like metal and smoke. This was the world the stories never told. The dead plains. She covered her face with a torn cloth, trying not to breathe too deep. The heat felt alive, crawling into her lungs. The ground beneath her boots was dry and cracked, sharp like broken glass. Bones lay half buried in the sand, human, animal, maybe both. Aaron climbed out after her, moving slower now. His armor, once bright and clean, was blackened by the tunnel battle. His blue lights flickered weakly under the burning sky. "This is it," he said. "The last stretch before the Ark." Lyra looked across the endless wasteland. There was nothing, no trees, no buildings, no sign of water. Only a thin, shimmering horizon far, far away. She swallowed hard. "That's a long way." "Yes," Aaron said. "And the plains don't forgive the weak." They began to walk. Each step sank into dust and sand. The air shimmered around them. The only sound was the whisper of wind and the faint hum of Aaron's damaged core. After an hour, Lyra's throat felt dry again. The heat burned her eyes. She stumbled and Aaron caught her before she fell. "Keep moving," he said. "I can't," she whispered. "It's too hot. My head, it's spinning." Aaron looked at the horizon. His scanners blinked. "There's shelter ahead," he said. "An old station." They pushed forward. The station turned out to be the broken shell of a metal tower, half buried in the sand. Inside, the air was cooler, but the silence was heavy. Rusted signs hung from the walls, words long erased by time. Lyra collapsed near the doorway, breathing hard. Her lips were cracked again. She looked at Aaron. "Do you have any of that blue water left?" He was quiet for a moment, then opened a small compartment in his armor. Inside, a small vial glowed faintly and barely a few drops left. He looked at it, then at her. "Drink," he said. She shook her head. "No, you need it more." "My systems can last without it," he said. "Yours can't." She stared at him, tears stinging her eyes. "If I drink it, you'll die, won't you?" He didn't answer. Lyra pushed the vial back toward him. "No, not again. You already gave me life once. I won't take it from you now." Aaron looked at her. Not like a machine, but like a man. "Lyra," he said quietly, "life means nothing if it's not shared. I was built to fight. I was programmed to kill, but saving you, it reminded me that I was once human." She looked at him for a long time. The wind howled through the holes in the metal walls, carrying the sound of something distant. A low, rumbling roar. "What was that?" she asked. Aaron turned sharply toward the sound. His eyes glowed brighter. "Storm front," he said. "Not wind, radiation." Before Lyra could respond, the sky outside turned darker. Lightning flashed, not white but green and red, crawling across the clouds like veins of poison. Aaron grabbed her arm. "We have to move, now!" They ran. The storm chased them, rolling across the horizon like a beast made of fire and ash. The ground shook. Static filled the air. Lyra felt her skin tingle. "Aaron, where are we going?" she shouted over the roar. "There's a crater up ahead, deep enough to shield us," he yelled back. They slid down into the crater just as the storm hit. The sky exploded with color. Dust and lightning swallowed the world. Aaron covered Lyra with his body, shielding her from the burning wind. Sparks flew off his armor. The blue light on his chest dimmed further, flickering like a candle about to die. When the storm finally passed, everything was quiet. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. The air was cooler now. The sky had turned a pale orange. Around them, the plains looked even more lifeless than before. Aaron lay beside her, motionless. "Aaron?" she whispered. He didn't move. She shook him gently. No, please." "Not now." Finally, his eyes flickered open. "I'm still here," he said weakly. Tears filled her eyes. "Don't ever do that again?" He smiled faintly. "I'll try." They rested for a while in the shadow of the crater. Lyra looked at the small vial again, the last of his glowing fluid. It pulsed softly, like it was alive, like it was watching them. She held it close and whispered, "We'll make it. I promise." When Aaron tried to stand again, she helped him. His legs trembled, his voice soft. "The Ark is near. My sensors detect faint energy ahead. It might still exist. Then we go," she said. "Together." He looked at her and nodded. They climbed out of the crater and began walking again. Two lonely shapes against the endless red horizon. Behind them, the storm clouds faded into silence. Ahead of them, far in the distance, a faint white light shimmered, like a star fallen to earth. Lyra pointed toward it. "Is that it?" Aaron nodded slowly. "Yes, as the Ark." But as they got closer, his sensors began to beep, not in joy, but in warning. "What is it?" she asked. Aaron's eyes narrowed. "The machines know. They're waiting for us." Lyra's grip tightened around the vial. The glow reflected in her eyes like fire. "Then let them wait," she said. "We're not turning back." The sun sank behind the dead horizon as they walked toward their final hope, unaware that the last war of humanity was about to begin. The night on the dead plains was colder than the grave. The burning winds were gone, replaced by silence so deep that even the stars seemed afraid to shine. The horizon glowed faintly, where the light of the Ark pulsed, the last hope of humankind. Lyra and Aaron stood on the edge of a cracked ridge, staring down at it. The Ark was no city. It was a fortress, buried deep in the sand, surrounded by broken towers and glowing shields of white light. It looked both beautiful and dangerous, like a pearl inside a blade. Lyra whispered, "We found it." Aaron didn't speak. His scanners blinked red, flashing warnings across his cracked armor. "Yes," he said finally. But the hunters found it too. Below them, a field of black machines moved in formation. Hundreds of glowing red eyes, drones, walkers, and at the center, a massive figure of metal and fire. The Hunter Prime. Lyra felt her stomach twist. "There's no way through that." Aaron's voice was quiet, calm, and too calm. "There is one way," she turned to him. "What do you mean?" He looked at her and she saw something new in his eyes, something human but heavy with sorrow. "My core," he said. "It's unstable. I can overload it. If I release all my stored energy, it will destroy the entire field. But it will also destroy me." Lyra froze. "No." He looked back toward the Ark. "The explosion will clear the path. You'll reach them before the machines rebuild." She stepped in front of him, shaking her head. "You can't. There has to be another way." Aaron smiled faintly. "You said it yourself once, where you'd do anything for a drop of water." "I gave you that. Now I must give the world something greater." Lyra grabbed his arm. "You're not a tool. You're not just a machine that dies for people." He looked down at her hand on his arm. His expression softened. "No, I'm not. Because of you." The wind picked up, carrying sand across the ridge. The Hunter Prime below moved its head, scanning the darkness. Its voice rolled through the air like thunder. "Unit E9, it boomed. Return the human and surrender your core. Resistance is failure." Lyra flinched at the sound, but Aaron didn't move. He just watched the glowing fortress far away. "They built me to kill," he said softly. "But they never understood what it meant to protect." He turned to her. "You must go, Lyra." She shook her head violently. "I'm not leaving you here to die." He stepped closer, his hand brushing the side of her face, surprisingly warm. "You gave me back my humanity. That is more than life." Tears ran down her cheeks. "Aaron, please." He smiled, a small human smile. "Don't cry. You carry my light now. That means I never really die." Before she could answer, he pressed something into her hand. His glowing vial, the last of his energy. "Keep this safe. The Ark will need it to survive. They'll know what to do." She looked down at it, shaking. Aaron, but he had already turned toward the valley. His body glowed brighter with each step, the blue veins in his armor turning white with power. Lyra fell to her knees. "Aaron, stop." He didn't look back. The machines saw him and began to move. Red beams cut through the darkness, firing wildly. Aaron raised his arms and a wall of blue light erupted around him, blocking the shots. The ground shook. The sand turned to glass beneath his feet. Lyra screamed, "Aaron!" He looked back once, just once, his eyes glowing brighter than the stars. "Run," he said. Then he tore off the chest plate covering his core. The light inside was blinding, swirling like a small sun trapped in steel. The Hunter Prime fired a massive beam straight at him. The blast hit, but instead of breaking, Aaron absorbed it, and then released everything. The world exploded in blue fire. The blast tore through the valley, ripping apart the hunters, burning the sand into molten rivers. Lyra threw herself to the ground, clutching the glowing vial to her chest. Heat washed over her like a storm, and then silence. When she opened her eyes, the sky was glowing faintly blue. The air smelled clean for the first time in her life. The machines were gone, melted into the earth, but Aaron was gone too. She stood slowly, her heart heavy. Only a single piece of his armor remained, still warm, humming softly. Lyra fell to her knees beside it. "You kept your promise," she whispered. "You saved me again." She looked toward the Ark. The force field around it was fading. For the first time, the great gates were opening. Humans stepped out. Real humans, alive, blinking against the light. Lyra held the vial close to her heart. Inside, the last drop of blue light pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. "I'll finish what you started," she whispered. She walked toward the Ark, carrying his light with her, one survivor, one promise, one last hope. Behind her, the wind blew softly, whispering through the ruins, and if anyone had been there to listen, they might have sworn they heard a voice in the breeze, and calm, gentle, and human. "Run." Wherein the world was quiet, not the silence of death, but the silence that comes after a storm, heavy, sacred, and full of meaning. The wind carried no fire now, only cool dust that moved like breath over the scorched earth. Lyra stood at the edge of the crater, her face streaked with ash and tears. The blue glow of Aaron's sacrifice still shimmered faintly across the horizon, a ghostly light that refused to die. The ground where he had stood was glass now, smooth, shining, and marked with a single glowing symbol, a human hand. She knelt beside it, her fingers trembling. In her palm was the vial he had given her, the last of his glowing heart. It pulsed weakly as if it were alive, as if it could still feel her grief. "You did it," she whispered. "You gave them a chance." Far away, the great gates of the Ark stood open for the first time in years. The air around it sparkled with blue mist, Aaron's energy still dancing in the wind. The hunters were gone, erased, melted, or turned to dust by his final light. For a moment, Lyra didn't move. Her body was weak, her heart heavier than any burden she had ever known. She closed her eyes and listened. No engines, no screams, no gunfire. Only the faint hum of life trying to return. She looked down at the vial again. Only one drop of Iran's light remained. The last drop. She remembered what he had said before the explosion. "You carry my light now. That means I never really die." So she stood, holding the vial close to her chest, and began to walk toward the Ark. The path was broken and rough. Pieces of metal and glass crunched under her boots. The red sun was rising slowly, its color softer than before, like it too was tired of burning. Every step she took felt like walking through memory, through every loss, every tear, every person she had seen die for water, for hope, for nothing. When she reached the gates, people were waiting, real people, men. Women and children, pale, thin but alive. They wore old uniforms, worn cloaks, and faces full of disbelief. A man stepped forward, eyes wide as he saw her. "Someone survived out there?" he asked. Lyra nodded, her voice small but steady. "Not just me. A man saved me. His name was Aaron." The people looked at one another. Some whispered, some gasped. A woman stepped forward, her hair silver, her eyes tired but kind. "Aaron," she repeated softly. That name, it was one of the prototypes. The Guardian units. "He wasn't a machine," Lyra said quickly. "He was more than that. He was human, more human than anyone I've ever met." The woman nodded slowly. "Then humanity owes him everything." Lyra opened her hand and showed them the vial. "This is what's left of him." The people gathered around. The small drop of blue light glowed brighter, as if it could feel their presence, as if it remembered what it was protecting. One of the engineers reached out, eyes wide. "That energy, it's pure. We can use it to power the Ark again, maybe even rebuild the old systems." Lyra looked down at the vial. She felt torn, between giving it away and keeping it, between saving the world and holding on to the last piece of him. Then she remembered Aaron's words. "Use it to save the world." She nodded. "Do it." The engineers carefully took the vial and placed it into a small metal chamber connected to the Ark's central core. The walls of the fortress began to hum. Lights flickered on for the first time in decades. The ground vibrated softly and the air filled with warmth. A beam of blue light rose from the heart of the Ark, shooting high into the red sky. The clouds shifted, parting slowly. The wind changed direction, cooler and lighter. And then, softly, almost shyly, raindrops began to fall. Lyra lifted her face toward the sky. The first drop landed on her cheek. Cool, gentle, real. She laughed through her tears, tasting the sweetness of it. Around her, the others shouted, cried, lifted their arms to the rain as it washed the ash from their faces. Water fell on the dead plains for the first time in centuries. The cracked earth began to darken, drinking the gift eagerly. The smell of life returned, faint but growing. Lyra walked back to the crater one last time. The glass still shimmered faintly with blue light. She knelt and whispered, "You did it, Aaron. You brought back the rain." The wind brushed her hair softly like a hand she once knew. She smiled, her voice barely a breath. "You gave me more than water. You gave me back the world." As she stood, the sky above the Ark turned bright, a soft blue glowing with new life. The storm of the past was gone. Humanity would begin again, and far beneath the earth, deep under the glass where Aaron's light had burned, a faint heartbeat echoed once, steady, gentle, alive. The legend of the man who gave his life for a drop of water had just begun.